Yeah, I noticed this a couple years ago. I noticed that I never see white men approach women in public. Whenever I go out in public, whenever I go out in public, I never see white men talking to women or anything. And I've first noticed this a few years ago. And I always used to wonder why. And when I first noticed this was before the Me Too movement, This was before the Me Too movement when, you know, before it was classified as like a taboo for certain men to approach women in public. You know, before like 2018 or even before 2019, the Me Too movement really wasn't here yet at that level. So before like 2019, you would see men approaching women in public. I would see black men approaching women in public before like 2019, but I'll never see, even before the Me Too movement, I would never see white guys approach women in public. Like I rarely see it. Every now and then I'll go to a bar, I'll see white guys getting play at the bar or whatever, but I always used to wonder, it's like, that's strange. White men have all this privilege. White men are on the top of society. This country is run by white men. This is a white man's country. They have all this privilege. They have sexual privilege. White men have an easier time. They have white privilege, so white men most likely they have an easier time getting women. So if white men have an easier time getting women because they have white male privilege, then how come you rarely see white men talking to women? That shit mind boggled me, and I didn't know why. But it finally came in my mind, like why you rarely see white men approaching women in public. It's like I was like, what? And I was thinking, like, when I first thought of this, I kind of first thought of this like in 2018 or so. I'm like, if black men had the same privilege as white men to get women, then you'll see black men you'll see black men trying to holler at these broads 24/7. But white men, they're men, all men like women. Like, come on. So white men have this privilege, and you already know men, all men love women. So how come you don't see any of these white men who have all this privilege talking to women in public? It's like, and it finally hit my mind. It hit my mind earlier this year, to be honest, why you rarely see white men speaking to women in public. They do it on purpose. White men purposely don't seek out women in public. This is you have to know, man. The white man, white society, they have a long history of racism, and they're very calculated with their racism. White society is very calculated with their racism. I mean, you can just see it in history. This whole country was founded on racism. Almost every law in this country was founded on racism against American black men. Even how black men are portrayed in the media, you know, that has racist roots. Everything in the society is like against the black man. And it was designated like that. It was orchestrated like that. You turn on the TV, you turn on the TV, all you hear is you turn on the TV and you turn on the news, you watch the news, and all you see is stories about how a certain black man committed a crime. If a black man does a simple crime like jaywalking, that would somehow come up on your local news station. But you never see white men, when a white man commits a crime, it rarely gets put on the news, right? That's done on purpose, so like this racist white society, man, is very calculated with their racism and their prejudice against the black man. And it's chess, not checkers. And the reason why you don't see white men approaching women in public is due to racism. It's due to racism. I don't even, it's like a special form of racism. Um, White men, they want to protect their women from black men. Like, I don't know, to me, it's common sense that white guys, in American history, white guys never wanted black men to sleep with their white women. Like, come on. Emmett Till got killed for whistling at a white woman. He didn't even whistle at her, I don't think. But it was a rumor that Emmett Till whistled at a white woman and they killed him off of that. Black men are purposely portrayed negatively in the media, you know, just so black men can have a bad image, a bad reputation with women, so women won't choose to be with the black man. you know, Ultimately, the white man just wants to protect his lineage from the black man. Black men, we have stronger genetics than white men, and if black men sleep with a whole bunch of white women and create a whole bunch of mulatto babies, you never know what could happen in that situation of the existence of the white race. I mean, black men, we have strong genes, and we can wipe out any race through our sexuality if we really wanted to. And the reason why you don't really see white guys approaching women in public is because white men do not want to foster an environment white men do not want to create an environment where black men can approach white women. Let me say this one more time. The reason why you don't see white guys approaching women in public is because they're trying to create an environment where men, black men specifically, but men don't approach women. Ultimately, just so black guys won't be able to approach white women. You know, and white people compromise the majority of the population. So white people, they have a strong element of cultural influence just off the fact that they are the majority. So most men in this country are white men. So if most men in this country decide not to approach women and make it ingrained in the culture not to approach women, most of everybody else is going to follow, you know. That's human nature, right? People tend to follow cultural norms, you know, to fit in with each other, you know, and that's human nature to an extent, you know. So white guys, white men have created this cultural norm of not approaching women in public, you know. Now it's like damn near a taboo for a man to speak to a woman in public, you know. But really, at its root, it's never a taboo for a white man to approach a woman in public. They just choose not to because of their agenda. The real taboo is a black man approaching women in public. That's the real taboo. You know, like you have to have common sense. Like this is a white man's country. You know, it's never a taboo for a man to speak to his own women in his own country. Come on. It's not a taboo for Pakistani men to speak to Pakistani women in public in Pakistan. You know, it's not a taboo for Mexican men to approach Mexican women in public in Mexico. Like, come on, that's their women in their own country. But black men, we have to open our eyes and realize that this is not our country. This is a white man's country. This is not the black man's country. Like, and so these women, most of these women, they belong to the white man. These are the white man's women. This is a white man's society. Like, let me use an analogy. Like this, this is the United States is the white man's house, but the black man is just renting out a room. So who gets more respect in that house? You know, the white man gets more respect in that house. He owns the whole house. The black man is just renting out a little ass room. You feel me? White men have white privilege. So it's their privilege to fuck a whole lot of women. This society doesn't oppose black, white men. Why would white men create a society in which why would white men create a society in which they run that prohibits them from getting women? That manner. But the white man will hold himself back interesting. But all right, YouTube, peace.